What have been some big accomplishments, looking forward? What have you guys been through that you're really proud of?
Catering 5,000 at Forbes, 30 under 30 for one thing. That was a big one.
That was fun. I think our involvement with Feastival has been pretty great.
Yeah, and now we're both on the committee for Feastival this year. Suddenly I find myself on all these committees, which is kind of cool.
Look at you, the committee lady.
Yeah.
This past year, actually, at Feastival, when we were everybody was collaborating with a different restaurant. We had the privilege to be able to collaborate with Mark Vetri.
Oh, wow.
So we did a dish with him.
That was really exciting.
Yo, Philly, listen up to all our small business owners.
Not just our small business owners, also our entrepreneurs, our creators, our dreamers, our doers.
This is Small Business Saturday. Every week we're dropping knowledge about small businesses. Man, you know what? Just listen to the podcast.
But we try to do a cool intro. But however, we promise the podcast, we will be dropping gems, we will be dropping knowledge, we will be dropping the tools you need to succeed in your small business.
All right, so every week, every Saturday, stay tuned with Small Business Saturday.
Let's get it.
I put on for my city, home for my city. I put on for my city, home for my city.
All right, everyone. Today we have Kiki, Aranita, and Chris Vacca, who own and operate Poi Dog Philly, a casual counter service restaurant and food cart in Philadelphia. Poi Dog is a pidgin term that refers to the mixed nature of their hybrid Hawaii-style food. Their menus are rooted in Hawaiian cuisine, but also draw upon cultures that have heavily influenced the food of Hawaii, such as Filipino, Japanese, and Portuguese. In the 6 years since Kiki and Chris started Poi Dog, they've catered events from beer festivals to galas, taught cooking classes, and traveled around the Philippines learning to make regional specialties from street food vendors. So Kiki and Chris, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
We are glad to have you. Now, I got stuck on this term earlier when we were chatting about it. Pidgin, I was like, all right, first off, what is this term? What's it even mean? Because I think it's it has a lot to do with, I guess, the style of food that you guys make.
Yeah, so pidgin is just a synonym for Creole or patois. It is what we speak in Hawaii. If you grew up in Hawaii, Hawaiian Pidgin English is a recognized language now, as of, I think, 2 years ago. So Hawaiian Pidgin English uses a lot of Hawaiian words, Japanese words, Portuguese intonations, and structure, and was basically a language necessitated by all of the different immigrant groups that moved to Hawaii a couple hundred years ago to work on its sugarcane plantations, and they needed to figure out a way to communicate with each other. So Pidgin English developed from that.
Just finding common words and phrases that they could all, I guess, speak.
Exactly. And my grandparents only spoke Pidgin. And so I would speak it to them when I went back to stay with them in the summer in Waipahu, which is an old sugar plantation town.
What island is that?
On Oahu.
Oahu?
Yeah, Waipahu.
Is that the
Oahu.
big? That's not the Big Island.
No.
Big Island's
the
just
Big
called
Island's
Big
the
Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Oahu is where Honolulu is, so it contains the capital of Hawaii. And I mean, most of it you could probably figure out if you listen closely enough. For example, if you say, how's it going to somebody, you would say, how's it?
How's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
wait, so it's all kind of English rooted too?
Yeah. So it's rooted in it's Pidgin English.
Okay.
So just as you would speak Creole in the South or patois in Jamaica, we have our own sort of way of saying things in Hawaii.
What are some really interesting ones?
You were mentioning that you can figure things out pretty easily, and that's true for the most part. The one word that jumped to mind that would be problematic for some people was dakine.
Dakine,
yeah.
Dakine.
Elaborate on dakine.
So I'll give two examples. Dakine can refer to absolutely everything or anything, but everybody knows exactly what it's referring to. So just like in Philly,
Just like John.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
we have a T-shirt design that's the John kind grinds. Of course, grinds is food. So we just combined the same word in Pidgin and in Philly slang onto one design. So yeah, Dakine and John mean the same thing.
Let me get that to John.
The John Con, yeah.
Yeah.
So there could be a film like in Creed, and there was a scene in Creed where like sort of belabor this point about like what John is, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, that's a John. Like it's a really awkward way of doing it, but
Right.
But it was funny watching that. But it's a similar situation where if you don't know what this term is, context doesn't always help you. But most of the stuff, like you were mentioning, the context does help you. I mean, most of it is drawn from English.
Yeah, and then I mean there are stories behind like a lot of the terms that we use, like Hanabata days is what you would use to describe your childhood, and Hanabata in Hawaiian Pidgin means boogers. So like Hanabata days, like back when you
Booger
had
days.
boogers. Yeah. So I mean I can't remember off the top of my head right now what because there's a microphone pointing in front of me and I'm nervous. So like Hana is like in like Japanese for like booger, or like I guess booger. But butter is from English butter.
Okay.
So like the stuff that comes out of like the buttery stuff that comes out of your nose. So it's
Hanabata
really
days.
gross.
Yeah.
But it's like, Hanabata is so what we call boogers.
So you're born and raised in Hawaii.
No, I was actually born in New York, but
Okay.
just my parents were working there. Like I wasn't like really raised there. But I was raised in Hawaii and in Hong Kong.
And in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And Chris, how about you?
I was raised in the exotic state of Delaware.
Oh, nice. Nice. Like close to the ocean or no?
Yeah, we call it 10th Island, really, honestly. I mean, the 9th island is Vegas.
Nobody calls it. Well, okay, yeah.
But what brought you two together then?
We studied at Bryn Mawr for a PhD that we never finished, but we were there for that purpose. That's where we met in grad school.
You two met in grad school then?
Yeah.
And so when you met, were you like working on like a class project or anything? Like what brought you together
We
then?
actually did. I mean, so the
did.
PhD program is a really small program there.
Yeah,
like,
it's very small.
I mean, we only had to deal with like 6 or 7 other people on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And our carols were right next to each other. Like we had carols next to each other in the library.
Desks.
Like, desks.
I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Are you singing Christmas carols?
Carrels. But I did put up Christmas decorations year round that the librarian eventually told me to take down because it wasn't Christmas.
But
Okay.
it was just too tempting to
Christmas
not give up
carols.
on the pun of
Yeah.
Christmas carols. Yeah.
So you're in a PhD program,
Yeah.
right? And you're both, I guess studying something similar. What takes you from there to, I guess, starting a business? Like what's the in-between?
So I mean,
A lot.
yeah, there was a lot, but we also had both come from master's programs. So we
Okay.
completed a master's. We'd already both been in grad school for. I mean, I'd been that would have been my 4th year, I believe. I think you had come off 2 years of master's, so that
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I was a PhD.
So then we both had 3 years, and we came into the PhD program and were both pretty eager to conclude our studies. And I think part of what got us thinking outside of that sort of narrow career path towards a future in academia was kind of our frustration with our particular program that we were in, where it was difficult to basically just kind of put your head down and push through and finish. And so, I mean, we made the most of it. Like Kiki was alluding earlier, we can maybe loop back to it in a bit, but she was alluding to this project that we eventually did as we were growing a little restless in our studies, but that kind of took us out of class. Oh, by the way, we were studying classics. That's what we were in
Latin and Greek.
Yeah. So we were realizing that this was going to take a little longer than we expected, and that we were both, I think I can speak for you and say that we both were maybe getting a little bit less enthralled.
Well, I mean, I think the
Grown
thing
tired
that,
of it.
yeah, I think kicker. I have never used this term before. I think the kicker.
Okay, I
Does
guess.
that
Sure.
does that
I
make
mean,
sense?
It's kind of a kicker. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, okay. Was we had spent a summer in Athens with the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, basically visiting archaeological digs all over Greece. And
It's not something most people do.
no, and it was
amazing.
extraordinary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
like we
incredible.
got to do things that most people probably wouldn't even dream up. Like we climbed the Parthenon. You're not allowed to even touch the Parthenon.
Yeah.
Or approach it more than 10 meters away or something like that. So we had all these incredible opportunities. Like we went just on these amazing digs, all over Crete, for example. We spent a week in Crete. And at the end of it, it was like so extraordinary. We're like, it's never gonna like get much better than this for us in classics. Like, I think like
This
we've
is about
reached,
it.
Yeah, I feel like we've reached like the pinnacle of like being classicists.
Yeah, and part of it was also just the dwindling size of classics programs throughout the country it directly affects the job prospects. So it was like, do we want to keep doing this for another couple of years and then have to go find a job somewhere
Basically,
else anyway?
we started a food truck.
Yeah.
Long story short, we started a food truck.
Yeah. And I mean, we'd both been interested in food, and this was kind of coincided with that food truck boom that had just come to Philly, and
How long ago are we talking?
this would have been 2012.
Okay.
And
We started in 2013 though.
we started in 2013, but we so for instance, I towards the end of when we were in grad school, I was adjuncting at Villanova, teaching a couple classes of Greek there. And while I was doing that, I was also I had a friend who worked on Jose Garza's food truck, the Guapos Tacos.
Yeah.
And so there was a couple shifts, and I was like, I got some days or some hours in a couple days that I could spare, so why not do that? And as I did that and started to kind of see more and more what was entailed in running a food truck, or at least operating one.
I can do this.
Yeah,
Kind of.
exactly.
We started talking about it, and
and I was working in JG Domestic, another Garza's establishment.
Yeah.
And a guy I knew there was selling his food cart.
Yeah.
And given that, so he had this taco cart that he ran on Temple's campus, and given that Chris's name is Chris, and the taco stand was called Chris's Taco Stand, we took this as a sign from the heavens above.
Yeah.
You weren't like, oh, let's keep the taco stand in the name.
Yeah,
We talked about
the name.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was called Kiki's Taco Stand, like absolutely.
Would have had to keep it.
Like, how is this even possible?
I think it probably would have taken maybe a week before you crossed out the Chris and put Kiki anyway. So.
No, I would never do that. But we did keep the same wrap, and like it was such like a low risk in terms of a startup because it wasn't a ton of money. We printed out circle stickers to cover up the Chris's Taco Stand logo, kept the same colors. That's why our colors are maroon and like turmeric, because that was the original wrap of the cart.
You don't sound too thrilled about that.
No, I mean, I'm fine with no.
great.
Yeah, I actually think it worked out really nicely for us. Like I never would have chosen those colors, but I think they worked for us.
Yeah, actually, that would have been a pretty tough decision too. So I think it took a lot of frustration maybe out of that.
So how did we get to the name that you have now?
Through a lot of agony. Like at first we were thinking.
It's always so tough, right?
Yeah, at first we were thinking that it would be. At first our dreams were to start a poutine truck and call it Rasputin.
Yeah.
Because I'm hilarious.
No. First of all, that's not even your joke.
I know it's not.
So we're getting Canadian into the mix.
Yeah. No, it's just to give credit where credit is due. That's a Jonathan Goldstein joke. It's not. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was the initial thought, and that was like that was a discussion that happened over, I think, like a meal, like a diner or something. We were like, what would be a pretty low sort of
poutine.
Yeah, like the food.
What's
costs
that? Fries and gravy?
Yeah, it'd be like potatoes and
quick.
gravy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty low food costs, and you could kind of turn that out. And then, this kind of idea got into our head, and then next thing we knew, a year or two later, we were thinking about doing this for real, but just with Hawaiian food.
Yeah, I'm also like, can you imagine like eating poutine like every day?
Oh no! Like for you guys yourselves,
Yes.
at least.
Yeah, I know, it'd be huge.
It's not it's very unhealthy.
So the actual name, though.
So Poi Dog means mixed breed or mutt, and so I am technically a Poi Dog. Chris also at that time had a Poi Dog named Caleb.
God rest his soul.
He went to heaven.
Oh.
Yeah. Like shortly after we opened our restaurant. So he was the original Poi Dog. So it was like a name of like many layered meanings, and honestly speaks to the style of our food. Like it's a hybrid of all the different things, all the different cuisines and cultures that came to Hawaii. They used to be dogs that ate poi, but the term has since evolved to mean mixed breed or mutt.
Do either of you have a culinary background?
No.
Just figured it out.
Yeah, we have no formal training, no.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that like starting a food business then with no culinary background? It's just like, hey, this is kind of like, this tastes good. Let's mess around with this, or is there a certain way to go about it?
I mean, to a certain extent, there was some of that, but we both, like Kiki was mentioning, her working in a restaurant right before we opened, and like we both worked at different restaurants over the years. Like,
So there's some culinary background, yeah.
Yes, but nothing like we were never trained in a kitchen in the traditional sense of where you start out as the line cook and then you get bumped up to eventually you get to sous and then chef de cuisine, whatever, executive chef, that sort of stuff.
Right.
We never did that, but we were familiar with how smaller kitchens operated, and we both liked to cook, so we did that on a relatively small scale. And then, like Kiki was mentioning, the first step was a food truck that was not terribly daunting because it was small. It was a small operation, and
we were only making like 4 or 5 things.
Yeah, we weren't making a lot of food. The food truck is 4x8. So it's a tiny little space. Yeah.
Yeah. So
what's it on the inside?
2x3 ish.
And you have how many? 2 people in there?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. So we couldn't hire anybody tall.
No. You get to see a lot of each other, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do they say? On your 6 or something? Like when you're behind someone with the hot food or in a kitchen.
Oh yeah.
You're just always on each other's 6.
Yes. But so we progressed relatively slowly through what we were doing, and we knew Kiki grew up eating a lot of this food, and at this point before we started, I had probably been there already at least 3 times or something. Yeah. So we both knew what we wanted to do and what we wanted to produce, and it was a matter of getting some menu items together and then slowly adding. And then the more we prepared them, the better we got, and then eventually the food truck grew, and then we moved into a restaurant 2 years ago.
There's a big gap there. What are some of the first things you did when starting the business?
We went to Wharton.
Wait,
hang on. The Wharton Small Business Development Center.
Yes.
Is that still around?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
And basically took classes there for a year.
Yes. They have a wonderful program, the SBDC, that they provide to small business owners who are looking to, start a business, and we took advantage of this.
Is that like free? You have to pay for that? How's that work?
You have to pay for it.
Like not a lot of money though. Like
no,
a few $100s.
Yeah, they make it so it's affordable and it works around your schedule. I think the last one we did was over like 8 or 10 weeks, and it was in the evenings and that sort of thing. So
taught us how to spreadsheet.
Yeah, the basics, the nuts and bolts of running a business.
And formulating a business plan that was like an actual business plan, not just an
Something
idea.
on a napkin.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is, you'd be surprised how often that is the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just do something.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've had friends show me their business plans. I'm like, this is extremely not a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
I never had one for either of my companies too. And then, have you guys heard of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses?
I think so.
Should definitely check it out. I just went through it this past summer. They do different cohorts of small businesses, and there's the Philadelphia cohorts, and they run it's like a 4-month program, but it's almost like an intensive MBA where you have to put together basically like a growth plan, and you use your existing business. So you have to apply and have to be in business a certain amount of time, doing a certain amount of revenue, a certain amount of employees.
Sure.
And it's actually really legit, but I was like, whoa, I didn't do any of this. I was like, I guess I should have when I started. But no, that's really cool. So you went through this program, sort of like a small business accelerator with Wharton's SBDC. And did you have to take out a loan? Were there a lot of upfront costs? What did that look like?
I mean, we started with $17,000.
Okay.
It's fine.
It's more than, I guess, a lot to start with, so.
Yeah, I mean, these were our startup costs. And
Is that mostly for food truck?
Getting the actual food truck. Because we took over another small business, and it kind of came with everything, pots and pans, literally everything we needed.
Yeah, it was as close to turnkey as we could get.
That's perfect.
So we just needed to get the paperwork done, licenses and everything, and then it was after that it was a matter of just doing enough business to sustain us and that started to feed itself pretty quickly.
Yeah, are there certain licenses and registrations you need for food carts?
Yeah,
what's that?
And I mean, you need a business license, you need a food prep license, food prep / caterer license. For us, we needed sidewalk sales because we're a trailer. And depending on where we're considered a roamer by the health department here. So considering like where we would take the truck, we would sometimes have to get licensed in different counties. Going from county to county, you have to be licensed in like every single county that you vent in.
And so that's probably like time, money, and an application, or like what else involved with that?
Yeah, an application, inspection. The health department has changed it pretty much every year that we've been in existence. Exactly like how the inspections go, like whether you take the cart or truck or whatever to the health department itself, or have them come out, and you take it. Like it's the regulations have shifted from year to year, but we're sort of in the middle of the process right now. We just had the restaurant inspected last week, and I am very, very pleased with the entire staff about that. The inspector basically said that it was one of the easiest inspections that he's ever done because we are super obsessively, insanely clean.
Do people know when inspectors are coming through, like health or food inspectors?
No, well, not for restaurants.
Not for
it's a
restaurants.
surprise.
Yeah, for restaurants.
They're just popping in on Wednesday, hey.
Well, so they're annual inspections, unless there's a complaint made to the health department by a customer.
Yeah.
If there's a complaint made, they have to come out no matter what. But otherwise, it's an annual inspection. It's usually around the same time of year, but that could be like a 2-month window or something. So you don't know exactly.
Yeah. And with truck inspections, we're really good at inspections because trucks have to be inspected at every event. Like every event that's registered with the health department. Like there are times that I think our record is like getting inspected by the health department like 4 times in 1 week because we do so many events. So we like know our health inspectors like on a first name basis. We can like rattle off like foodborne illnesses. Like I typically carry a thermometer in my purse. Like we're really obsessive about that stuff.
What about all these food cart vendors on the street?
What about them?
Are they all like, they have to do all these inspections too? Because I feel like every time I eat one of these food carts, like my stomach doesn't like it.
Well, I mean, that might just be a quality of product issue. I don't know. I can't speak to what exactly they're serving you, but they are subject to the exact same regulations.
They are, okay.
Yeah,
But a lot of them don't do events.
They don't do the events,
So
they don't need it
then-
as much.
Exactly.
Right. So in that case, if you're setting up on, say, like 18th and JFK or I don't know, whatever, and you're there every single day and that's all you ever do, then you might get somebody stop in once in a while, but for the most part, you're only really obliged to get that one annual inspection.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess one of my questions about being a food cart that goes to events, because they're a big thing, or at least they have been in the last couple of years. How do you know about all the events going on? How do you like get involved with them?
I mean, after the first year, like we got popular like basically right away. And the first year I reached out to event organizers here and there, but since then, like they come to me. I don't apply for events. Like everybody approaches me.
How? Email? Or?
Yeah. Sometimes Instagram. And then I just tell them to email me.
And what were some of the first ones that you got involved with that you got some popularity?
Night market.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones.
Clover market, which we've done pretty much since our beginnings. Clover market is a roving vintage market that's primarily, it's in Bryn Mawr, now it's in Kennett Square. What else is there?
Second Street Festival, which is right out here. We've done that for several years.
That's our biggest one of the year because it's like 10 hours
it's
long.
super long, yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, and it's usually very hot. It's because it's in August.
Yeah.
But, that's always a popular one.
Yeah, and we've been at the Head House Farmers Market, less these days, but we were there from our beginnings again.
We used to go to the Man.
Yeah, so
Man
the
Music
Med Center.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Until they changed over how they were managing their concessions inside the.
So they switched from Wolfgang Puck to, I guess, Aramark now. And so when it was Wolfgang Puck, we saw a lot of concerts from a food truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah. Some good, some bad.
you're making money while you're at a concert instead of spending
Yeah,
it.
I know. Every now and then there'll be like one that we really liked.
Yeah.
So you guys have been in business, what, 5, 6 years?
6 years, but we technically have 2 businesses.
Ooh,
so the food
because the restaurant?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the restaurant is a separate business from the food truck / catering business.
But we've been doing business as Poi Dog for 6 years.
6 years.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like our 6-year anniversary. Like
Congrats.
Thanks.
Thanks.
So did they have the same name then?
We
Yes,
do
LLC.
business
Or is
as
it
that.
DBA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And they're both like LLCs, I guess, or
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty good. So what's it like being in, I guess, the food cart / catering business? Because hasn't it gotten a lot more competitive, or is that just a fallacy?
The truck side has definitely gotten a lot more competitive, and interest in food trucks in Philadelphia has waned. There are tons of trucks now, and sort of less attendance to like night markets, and sort of street fairs in general. I think unless there's like a lot of beer that typically brings people out regardless.
Right.
So in that sense, we've scaled back. I mean, we don't do regular vending with a truck at all anymore. At the same time, it's still like a really affordable option for people to get catering at their weddings. So it's been really popular for weddings. Basically, if you're getting married outside, please consider Poi Dog at your wedding. We can accommodate parties of up to 500 people. Fill out the form at poidogphilly.com. That's POIDOG Philly.com.
That's a lot of people. You can do 500
we
people?
did 5,000 for Forbes.
What?
Yeah, I mean, we were one of a few
Yeah.
vendors at that event, but yeah, I mean, we were.
When Forbes was in Philly.
It's like how many pounds of food can you fit in a food truck? It's like you have a backup fridge to.
Refrigeration, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a bunch of auxiliary, like, cold spaces that you bring along with you, so you can store plenty of food.
Bring me to understanding the restaurant side there, because I know it's a big, I think it's a big leap going from a food truck to a restaurant because of all the different intricacies.
So what in particular were you interested in?
I guess because now you have to worry about getting commercial space. You got to
Sure.
worry about like different insurances and
So
licensing.
just the whole thing,
and, like
yeah.
staff and a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot more involved operation for sure. One thing right off the bat, just the overhead is just a lot higher, and it's constant.
It's constant.
It never stops.
It's
With
like
the
we can
food
do this
truck-
event when we want.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. When the food truck is out, yeah, you have some operating costs, including, of course, staffing and what it costs to actually run the truck while it's out.
Mm-hmm.
These things, when the food truck is parked in our commissary, it is very few of those costs are persisting. So, for instance, the commissary rent and some utilities and whatever, but you're not staffing every 6 days a week, 6.5 days a week. You're not running utilities on a commercial space all those days. So that was a challenge for us because we had to start making sure that revenue was balancing these things out.
Right.
And luckily for us, we didn't start a restaurant with no customer base whatsoever. Most of our customer base, actually our regular customer base, was from our business that we did in Center City already at Love Park and City Hall.
Gotcha.
We were there just about once a week, maybe for the last year of operating the food truck regularly. And a lot of that business translated over to our 21st Street location because 21st and Chestnut Street's not that much farther away from a lot of those office buildings than Love Park is. So that helped. So we weren't starting from nothing.
How did you pick the location?
It picked us. Sort of like the other truck.
It
Sort of
picked
like
us.
the truck did.
I've never seen an address with a 0.5.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
so annoying getting mail.
So like 101, 100, are they sure it's 0.5?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so annoying
it's-
getting mail.
100.5 South 21st Street.
Between Chestnut and Sansom.
Ah.
Open 6 days a week, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Your subtlety is too much to handle at times.
And so you've been there for how long?
Almost 2 years.
Yeah, March
Congrats.
22nd will be our
month
second birthday.
From tomorrow, yeah.
So what would you say makes your guys' business really unique, other than the cool name and backstory?
I mean, our food, of course.
That's a great place.
We're the only restaurant in Philadelphia that's offering local Hawaiian food. And Kiki, do you want to talk about what I mean when I say local food?
Yeah, so local food is different from Hawaiian food. Hawaiian food is, well, the food of the Hawaiians, and it's its own cuisine. There's a lot of crossover between Hawaiian food and local food. And for example, but like local food is very much coming out of the sugar plantation era. And it's a mix, like a mashup of like all these different cultures coming together and cooking together, just like Pidgin English is a mashup of all these cultures trying to communicate with one another. So typical local things are we eat rice with mac salad. That is a plate lunch. It doesn't refer to the time of day that you're consuming the plate lunch. It is always like this holy trinity of 2 scoops of rice, 1 scoop of mac salad, and at least 1 meat entree. And that's like the cornerstone of our menu at the restaurant.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite dish that you have?
I love our poke. We always bring in fresh fish every single day. We use extremely high quality fish and break it down like in store, which I think sets us apart from restaurants perhaps like jumping in on the poke trend. We don't overdress the poke ever. We really want the actual flavor of the fish to shine. And we use salt that I bring in my suitcase back from Hawaii every time I go to visit. Seaweed that I do exactly the same thing to. There's a seaweed that we use on our tofu poke that is called, it's ogonori. So it's a purple feathery seaweed that you can only find in Hawaii. And I basically either find it freeze-dried and bring it back, or I freeze it myself there and bring it back to Philly.
Would you say it's more of like a lunch spot or a dinner spot, sit down, fast?
Both.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, there's sit down, it can be fast, especially if you get the poke. We're pretty fast with the poke. But yeah, it's always packed at lunch, and we do a ton of delivery. We cater for Penn a lot as well, which is pretty close by. And yeah, we basically, the restaurant like suits like many different people's needs. And then we have the catering portion of our business, of course, that can do things that approach fine dining.
And how do you market the business? Because I know there's a lot of restaurants, especially in like Center City area, but you guys, are you street visible so people can see when they walk by too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely street visible. And we do get some exposure just from being in a place where there's a decent amount of foot traffic.
Mm-hmm.
I will notice still, even now, after we've been there for 2 years, people will walk past and look up and be like, and you see the expression on their face, they're like, what is this place? And it's like, we've been here for 2 years. Where have you been?
Yeah.
So we do get some of that, but I would say most of our marketing comes from
Instagram.
Yeah, a lot of social media stuff that Kiki's really great at.
What's your Instagram?
Poi Dog Philly.
That's easy. And you guys are on social, like Facebook and it's mostly Facebook and Instagram.
So Instagram is to reach most of the people. Facebook is to reach a slightly older, more mature audience.
You can put like events and stuff on there too.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we do events. We do tons of collaborations. Probably like the most fun one we did most recently was with Mission Taqueria. On Sansom Street. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So yeah, like we basically do tons of collaborations. I love them. And doing cooking classes at Audrey Claire Cook in Rittenhouse. We've been doing that since we first started.
We've done more educational type classes at the Free
Library. Yeah. So yeah, just being really involved in the community, I think is the main form of marketing. But we also I'm like very proud that we've never paid anything for marketing at all.
Really? That's
good.
good.
I've never even like paid for like a sponsored Facebook post.
Wow. Not even like print in local flyers or something.
Yeah, that's actually one of our policies. No money.
Will not pay.
We do require all of our employees to get tattoos. Of our
No, you
logo.
do not. No, you do
So they're
not.
walking advertisements. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that.
He's joking, man.
Yes.
Let's leave. Let's
But I
just-
do dress up my dog as a spam musubi and like, I'll do that. She's really cute.
What have been some of your biggest setbacks since starting the companies?
Oh, the first year was that polar vortex.
What was that?
That would have been 2014. I think the
Yeah, the first
January
winter.
of 2014.
Yeah, weather is like a killer. I mean, yes, absolutely for restaurants because people aren't going to come outside and get to you, but even more so for a food truck.
Because you won't go outside to operate at all.
Yeah, I'm not going.
At least
It's not
restaurants
happening.
you can operate and deliver. You know, I mean, there's at least that option. But yeah.
Did like shut down the city? People weren't doing anything.
Yeah. However, this particular winter, we were pretty ideally situated.
Yeah, so I had friends in Hawaii who were closing their restaurant, and it was a restaurant that welcomed visiting chefs. So we set up for a month in Hawaii and basically ran a series of like pop-up dinners there. Came back and all our pipes had burst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we basically took most of the money that we made. in
Yeah, we
Hawaii,
made a lot of
came back
money,
and
came
fixed
back
a lot of
and
things.
Yep.
Yeah.
What have been some big accomplishments? Looking forward, what have you guys been through that you're really proud of?
Catering 5,000 at Forbes, 30
Yeah.
under 30 for one thing. That was a big one.
That was fun. I think our involvement with Feastival has been pretty great. the
Yeah,
last
and
couple
now we're
years.
both on the committee for Feastival this year. Suddenly I find myself on all these committees, which is kind of cool.
Look at you, the committee lady.
Yeah.
This past year, actually, at Feastival, when we were collaborating with, everybody was collaborating with a different
And they were
restaurant. We had the privilege to be able to collaborate with Mark Vetri.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah, so we did a dish
that was
with him.
that was really exciting.
I mean, Chris is not Asian. I am. So NBC recognized me as like the entrepreneurial Asian last year, and they do like an A to Z list. So that got a ton of press on Today's Show and stuff like that.
That's amazing. How does that come about?
They approached me.
What?
Mhm.
You're doing something right when that happens. Jeez.
Yeah, so like stuff like that, and then like there's also like the end that like nobody sees, that like the friends that we've made, and I think that those are probably the most extraordinary accomplishments. The people that we are privileged to work with.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think one of the thing that we're most proud of and that we find most rewarding is the staff that has grown up around this restaurant. It's been really amazing to work with the folks that we do. Kiki was just mentioning how proud and happy she was with them this past week when we were completely, like, usually we have a little bit of time to get ahead of this sort of annual inspection thing, and we had planned on having a big staff discussion about it that week, and the inspector came in the day before.
The day the meeting was scheduled.
Or the day the meeting was scheduled.
Yeah.
And so we hadn't been able
Curveball.
to. Yes, we hadn't been able to basically remind everybody all of the things that they should already know, and they
Right.
do. But so we hadn't been able to have that conversation, and he came in and we passed like
Handled
flying
it.
colors. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so we had an occasion to make sure that we recognized them and
They
thank
got
them
lots
for
of
all that.
snacks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're so fortunate to have the special group of team members that we have that have honestly they kind of came to us looking for jobs, and
like a lot of the ones who started with us are still with us.
yeah.
Wow.
And they've
That's
like
big.
moved up from like dish to like managers now. Like I'm so like we had like this kid Ariel. Sorry, I guess he's still a kid, right?
He's definitely not a
He's
kid.
not a kid. Okay.
To us.
Just,
had,
to
like-
us.
wait, hang on. Just to be clear, we do not employ children at our restaurant. We are not violating any child labor laws.
But
He's
yeah.
a young man. Whatever. Anyway.
But yeah, like he's been absolutely amazing. He started as a dishwasher with absolutely no dishwashing experience. And now like just also like does like all our design, like illustrates like all of our flyers and menus, and is like our AM shift manager, and just really does an amazing job. Devante, who is our PM manager, just like I can't say enough nice things about that guy.
They're all wonderful. We can't name them all, unfortunately. But it's so nice to see that Kiki and I were very deliberate when we started this, especially the restaurant, about the culture that we wanted in the restaurant.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, and it's so nice to see people like basically bringing exactly what we had in mind to life.
Yeah.
It's like you can't do that on your own. You know, you need other people to do it.
You're lucky. I mean, that's one of the things that people talk about the most as far as small business owners is like finding and keeping good people. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely a blessing. What would you say the hardest thing about being a small business owner is or has been?
I think the demands on your basically everything, on yourself, on your personal like time, energy. You know, you're worrying, like even when you're not there and you're not physically doing something in the restaurant.
You can't turn your brain off.
You can't. And I think that, again, this was made a little bit more bearable by the way we entered the restaurant, by, like we mentioned before, taking small steps through the food truck kind of prepared us for this. So we didn't go in and all of a sudden get, blindsided by this, but it's so much. I mean, it's anybody who's a small business owner will tell you, there's one of the greatest things in the world is being your own boss.
Right.
But it's also one of the most demanding things in the world.
A lot of people don't know that going in. They're just like, this is going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah, because anytime anything goes wrong, some people are there, some people are off, but you're always there. You're always responsible.
What is the best thing about being a small business owner?
Having a really good staff. I know we just talked about that, so I won't go on and on, but yeah, that's absolutely the best thing.
I think another great thing about, this is more specific to being a small business owner in Philadelphia, is the community of small business owners in this city is really remarkable. I think we're situated so that the city is large enough to be able to have enough people here and enough a large enough market for there to be, for all of us to survive.
Yeah.
But also small enough for us to be a pretty tight-knit community, which is not very common. You know? I mean, there's other places where you can go and there's plenty of people, but you're drowned in a sea of competitors. And honestly, I feel like, Kiki, you and I have talked about this before, where we don't really, like the people that we are, or the businesses that we are probably in most, would traditionally be conceived of as being in most direct competition. I don't really see a lot of these people as competitors. It's more of like fellow small business owners,
people that we can complain about things to like, on a daily basis.
Sure.
How are you meeting these small business owners? Like, how do you meet them and work with them? Or are you like part of like a organization or a chamber? I mean, you're probably part of many things, like you said earlier.
Sometimes, a lot of them actually, a lot of the friendships came out of events, because events like are stressful, and then you're working together like in a different space and everybody's just like dealing with the same problems. And I think we got a lot of friends out of that because we were like on equal footing, and then we're like, hey, let's take this friendship beyond this event. And now I have like multiple WhatsApp groups of that are like sounding boards for like whether we need like a water heater fixed or something. No. There's just like we complain about that stuff and like talk about how to make each of our businesses better, how to help each other, how to work together, and how cute all of our dogs really are.
Do you have like a dog group, like a dog walking small business group?
Kind of, yeah.
It's like a meetup.
Yeah, probably a topic for a different podcast.
Also, if anybody needs a dog model, Coconut Aranita is available.
That's her name.
Really cute. Yeah.
What kind of dog?
She's a Chihuahua that doesn't look like a Chihuahua. She looks like.
Does she have her on Instagram?
Oh yeah, of course, Coconut Aranita.
Okay.
COCONUTARANITA.
Chris is like, here we go. Aranita.
ARA.
Here, let's see. Oh, yeah, she doesn't look like a Chihuahua. Okay.
No, and yeah.
All the sweaters.
I'm
All
really
the
into
sweaters.
crochet. Yeah, she's even appeared on Poi Dog advertising.
She's not a morning person for everybody listening.
She's not. Yeah.
Oh, well, I wish I had time for a dog too. But does she come into work? Can you bring her to work?
No, no, but when the food truck is out at events sometimes, and I'm not working the truck, I will bring her by, and it makes us a lot more tips.
Tips for Coco.
Yeah.
What are your plans or next steps? What's next for Poi Dog?
I think we're always looking to grow the catering business. And we've had success since we've opened the restaurant in doing exactly that. When we first opened, we just had a capacity that we'd never had before, which was great. Partly due to the space that we had and to the staff. We just had a lot more hands and, a lot more, like I said, space to prepare all these things. And then in this past year, we took a different approach to basically marketing some of our catering offerings, and that has grown in addition.
Yes, so we do pan catering that you can pick up or get delivered. We will set up, at the food truck at your backyard wedding. We do corporate luau's. That is actually a thing. We pull the truck up to offices. And we cater for offices inside the offices. We can also do coursed menus if you want us to cook out of a commercial kitchen or something like that. Or we've even done it out of people's home kitchens for special events. Catering form, poidogphilly.com.
And last thing. So I was going to ask where we can find you online, but we kind of went over that with social media and poidogphilly.com.
Again, it's poidogphilly.com.
Yeah.
I used to do voiceovers.
I'm more curious for people listening who might want to start a restaurant or get into the food business. What advice do you have for them?
Don't.
Don't do it.
Yeah, that's I was anticipating.
Do something else.
That's a pretty easy response, and it's I would say a genuine response. It's I think if you say don't to somebody and they say,
Too bad.
I'm gonna do it anyway, then you're probably in a position you have the right attitude. You're gonna say, I'm gonna do this. I would say do it intelligently. Approach it like we were talking earlier in the conversation. Put some thought into it before just jumping in. You need that passion that says you're not gonna tell me I can't do this.
Right.
But you'll make your life so much easier if you take the steps to think about things in a systematic way, approach it like you're starting a business, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're not opening a kitchen where you're having friends over to try your newest barbecue recipe. You're opening a business.
Can't be half-hearted with it.
Exactly.
Do your research.
Yeah.
Work, if you're opening a food truck, work on a food truck first. If you're opening a restaurant.
Yes, get paid to learn the business.
Yeah.
If you can.
And it's shocking to me how I meet so many people who don't do this, where they get into their heads or, when that movie Chef came out.
Everybody loved
Oh
it.
my God.
Everybody
The amount of
loved
time, we fielded questions from hundreds of people, obviously our family and friends, people online, being so did you watch that movie Chef? Is it reality?
No, starting a food truck is not a montage where you just quickly get a broken down truck outfitted so that it can go on the road. No, it's not like that, unfortunately.
It sounds way too difficult for me to even want to consider, so no worries on my side.
Watching that movie was traumatic for both of us.
PTSD.
Yeah.
I guess just to round out the episode, one of the last questions I like to ask is, what questions do you actually have for me around just a little backstory? So we run Momentum Digital. It's a digital marketing company. My background's at Google. Anything like Google Ads, SEO, digital marketing related. Now is when I field those questions. And it's mostly for you, but also for listeners who might have some similar questions. So if you each have one, maybe something related to what you guys are trying to do.
How do you personally beat the algorithms?
For SEO?
SEO, Instagram, Facebook. How do you rise above and get people to see your posts?
The one thing Delilah, who's the co-host, and I usually say about Instagram, I've actually been posting a lot less, and I wait to have really good posts. For Instagram specifically, what I do is a lot of people are just using their stories a lot more, so posting stories, and just actually like using a lot of manual engagement, and then only posting to a post whenever it's something really good that you think people want to see. So like putting yourself in the user's shoes. The social algorithms are all really the same. Content is always going to win. So whatever's really engaging or eye-catching that people want to see. For you guys, I do like, mostly really elegant food pictures, or the dog, coconut next to some food, something like that. But a lot of these platforms are pay to play now. So if you want to really reach a lot more, unfortunately. As far as SEO, that's a longer conversation, but SEO is still relevant for restaurants and those businesses. What I'd say is don't even worry about your website as much as your local listing, specifically on Google with Google My Business. And really for that, I just set yourself a reminder literally every once a week, every Monday, to say, hey, post the same pictures that I posted on Instagram right to Google My Business. Make sure to get like a 360 virtual tour. They're pretty cheap, but it's like, do all the latest, newest things that Google's pushing, just like any social platform would. Because you can do posts there now. You can do like, hey, buy one, get one Monday. Also, really push people for reviews. Say, hey, I'll give you extra toppings on this if you write us a 5-star review. So those things, you'll rank higher above your competitors if they're searching for lunch near me or sushi or anything related to terms you guys want to show up for.
That's a good answer.
That is a good answer.
This has been a blessing. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So everybody, Poi Dog Philly.